Alright, we got a Eerlang Shen guide coming in. Courtesy of the homie Daniel, who wants to play Eerlang Shen.
Do we really need all of this?
So, I'm going to make a little guide here on how I think you should approach playing the god. I just want to show you what makes Eerlang strong. So as you can see, my skill build, you know, duel is of course a little bit different than conquest, but solo lane is still 1v1, which means the same concepts apply. Of course, in conquest, you only have 1 point. I'd highly recommend putting that point in your 3 because your 3 services are wave clear and your primary combat ability. The fact of the matter is, Samdi versus Eerlang is definitely not a matchup we'd want to play. Baron's able to just use range. I really need levels on him. But yeah, so you notice how I trade there. I kind of go in, hit him. My 3 is my primary source of trading though. Now up against Baron in particular, once the heal is gone, that's when you get to initiate. That's when you get to do your job. As you can see, I use my 1 to assist in wave clear. But my primary thing is my 3 and my 2. And see, this is what I'm meaning to the 1's value point. 15 damage is really good, because against most opponents, you're just not going to be able to hit them that consistently. And once again, the most important thing is how fast do you clear that creep wave. And it's like, if I was putting points into other stuff, there's just no way I'd be able to clear creep wave reliably. He's kind of like destroying me right now. This is one of those matchups where you definitely have to kind of concede the early game a little bit. Now, of course, in Conquest, you'd have invested in way more potions. You wouldn't have to back as much. But duel's a little different. Really just try to look at how I trade. That's what I think you should really try to learn. Because the red buff's spawning soon, I am going to run it. Oh man, that's tough. Like Baron, like I said, like Eerlang in general, you probably won't have to deal with this much in solo lane, but Eerlang doesn't do that well against ranged gods typically. They just naturally pressure you, of course, because you're ranged, you're melee, and it's like all that time you take getting into range is time that they'll be hitting you. Some gods like Baron is really good at that, obviously. Once your opponent expends their abilities, don't be afraid to go in and hit them. Really, I should be. Like if he was smart there, he would have ulted and just pulled me in the tower. I probably would have died. This is where playing. Oh wow! See, like, look, this is. I mean, that's pretty true to Conquest. Baron Samdi is a really good solo laner. Honestly, I think Daniel yesterday you probably have to play him. I think if you actually want to play it, you really it's worth exploring because it is pretty ridiculously strong. You can build, like in duel, what people do is build full defense, and even with full defense, you'll still out-trade most gods. Now you may have noticed I took a point in my 1 now. Your 3 is your best ability, but it's good to split one. With the idea being, you know that eventually you're going to get it on your opponent. At that point, you want to kill them. Because he's building defense early. Like if he wasn't building defense, I'd keep leveling him because my burst would be more significant. Because he's building defense so early, it's really better to get 3 points in this for clear, and then start getting points in the 1. Also, you notice I'm not really finishing my. See how I can clear that without putting any more points into it. Also, you notice that I'm not going defense yet. That's because since he's just going full defense, I'm going to do that first. You do want to go Ninja Tabby on Eerlang, because Eerlang Shen he's heavily dependent on spot weakness for his damage output later on in the games. Or your Tabby just undermines your whole kit, it's counterintuitive.
Stop that. I'm coming for you.
And when you're going to clear the wave and there's no pressure on you, just use Mink form. Just go through the wave as Mink. Now that I have 3 points in spot weakness, I can start leveling different abilities. Diversifying. Because of his positioning here, I can go in. See, this is the problem. Baron Samdi is naturally very good against, well, any melee god, really. You just rush defense. As you can see, he just doesn't take much damage. And his kit's all range, so he's just fragging. And it's like, I just don't compete. In order to beat Baron as Eerlang, you have to be a better player. Really, you just have to be smarter in every way possible. Because it actually is heavily in his favor. I kind of just conceding red buff just because it's easier to just give him the buff than keep fighting him nearest tower. Start scaling the 3 again. I find that 3 points is a pretty good place to be. Not even going to get the big shield. Big shield isn't always your best option, but it is an item that does pretty good. And something you can do is Eerlang, I don't know if you know how to do that, but you just cancel the 3, you cast it and immediately cancel. I accidentally used turtle form there for the shield, which you don't actually want to do when you're clearing buffs because you want that attack speed. But it's no biggie. As you can see, I have a bit of a gold lead on this guy, and it's because even though he's, you know, even though he's doing well, I'm making sure once again, this methodology applies to Conquest just as much, you know. When you're up against someone you can't kill, and you know, okay, I can't kill this guy, don't be afraid to just farm for a little bit for efficiency. I do think, you know, you talked about wanting to play Baron. Like, if you look at his build, I think that's the perfect Baron build that you should go if you're up against a physical god. I think 90% of the time, that would just destroy any god. Because you see, what's going to happen is he's going to have max cooldown reduction, which is 40%. With literally 3 items, you know? I mean, because this gives 10, this gives 20, this gives 10. That's max CDR, that means all of his spells, including, like, his ult will be on like a 50-second cooldown. And everything's max cooldown. It's really, really, really strong. People do it a lot in duel. But I think, once again, you know, duel and solo are very similar, honestly. As far as, like, you know, it's 1v1. Efficiency matters. No teammates in some stages. As you can see, I'm just kind of keeping a little bit of a lead. Just constantly working the map. You always want to do that. Baron in particular is a very difficult opponent. Like, there's just no way around that. As you can see, I'm really just ignoring him because I just don't care about him. I understand that I can't kill him, so I don't try to. I'd recommend you do the same thing, Daniel Son. Like, call me for a gank, or call someone, you know, call your jungler for gank when you're taking pressure. But I would not recommend. Actually, this could backfire because I've actually lost this matchup or similar matchups many times because I get Thorns instead of Vegas. But I do think Thorns is better. Because the thing about Baron's ult is I can dash out of it. The problem is that requires a lot of, you know, thinking ahead, obviously. Put myself in a position to be ready to dash, even though my dash is a primary initiation. Let's see how this goes.
Stop that one.
Ta-da!
Just continue to ignore him. Another thing I'm kind of relying on is I want this guy to be annoyed. I want him to be, like, frustrated, bored. Some games you just have to play, like, kind of gay. It's pretty boring. But this is a matchup that could very easily go very south.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Now I've reached a really strong point in my build. I have, you know, good attack speed and max spot weakness. You kind of shred at this point. Of course, once again, the problem is getting close enough to hit your opponent.
You cannot run.
Wow. Beads. That was unexpected. I didn't even know he had beads. As you can see, like, this is just... It's a ridiculously difficult matchup. Oh my god, man. And the crazy thing about Eerlang is, like, Baron is, even if he didn't have beads, right? He still would have, as you can see, Baron Samedi is very, very, very good. I'd say he's top 3 gods in the game against melee opponents. Because look, I mean, look at this. He speeds himself up. He roots you. He nukes you. He pulls you in. He counters everything melee gods have in their kit.
You had your chance, and you wasted it.
I barely survived there.
I'm
gonna get Aussie. I need some healing of my own. But yeah, Baron into Eerlang is a pretty unfortunate matchup to find yourself in if you're playing the Eerlang. I think personally that Baron Samedi played like this should probably beat any melee god in the game, except maybe something really strong like a Kali. Of course, it comes down to the player's individual skill, but you see how his kit naturally allows him to get away from me. It's kind of like no matter how I play, he's gonna get, like, unless I'm just a million times better than he is, he'll just get away from me. Now, I did just trade with him well. He's kind of gonna heal off every wave, of course. I just have to keep that in mind. Big thing about Baron is he'll kill you with no HP. Can you close my door, Mom? Like, he's only half HP, but he has Bancroft's Talon, which increases his damage. And once again, I'd recommend, like, follow his build. Like, that build works in solo lane. Makes you tanky, but you still do plenty of damage, and you heal like crazy. You see how I'm still playing passive? Like I said, this is a pretty boring matchup, I mean, admittedly. As Eerlang, if you're not careful, you'll just lose.
There is nothing sharper.
Now, my next item is extremely vital. And I used to be a big fan of, like, Frostbound. But nowadays, and I think, I'm not a big fan of Hasten, because it used to be a really toxic item called Vitalis. But at the end of the day, if I have to choose between being a little toxic and losing the game, I'm going to choose being a little toxic. Because he's going gem, which is unbelievably toxic. Oh my god, he's stolen, like, all of the XP. Like, he's literally stolen every XP camp I've tried to farm this game. But yeah, I got, like, this, I'm telling you guys, this matchup is hell. This is a terrible matchup. I would not wish this matchup on anyone. It's horrible. Now, what I took advantage of there was I waited for his beads to end and used my knock-up in the 3. Your 3 is a knock-up, which is, of course, really good. So I think I can kill him here, right? But that's where I'd be wrong. Because he just ults me, stuns me in tower, and I just die.
Ta-da!
Ah, yeah, that gem. It's a good item. It's just going to make it harder for me to... It's already hard for me to hit him, but it's going to make it even more difficult. And it lets him hit his kit easier, as you can see. This game might be unwinnable. It might be just too much of a good matchup. As you can see, yeah, I'd say this is... We've probably reached that point now where I can't win. I would say this is an unwinnable matchup. I don't see how a player can conceivably win this. I really don't. And this is the one thing I would caution you on. When you pick Eerlang Shen, if you play into a ranged god,
Your middle tower
in
is under
particular, I mean Baron's uniquely very good. I mean obviously, you see how easily he just wrangles me. He controls me so well. I simply cannot. I can't hit him. Like I can't move fast enough to hit him. And with Gem of Isolation, you know, I mean, you see he doesn't have any penetration in his build, which he doesn't need. I don't have to defend, and it's like I'm just unable to move fast enough. I'd really recommend, you know, if you've been talking about wanting to play Baron, I'd say play Baron. Like I don't think gods like this are that good, honestly. I think in this game, melee gods are stupid to play. They require a million times more skill than their ranged counterparts. And even if you play it extremely well, chances are you're not going to be as good. I mean, you see, like, I trade with him great, right? But now, look. I'm going to get slammed in this tower. Stunned. Look at this damage. Watch this. See what I'm talking about, man? Like, don't stress yourself trying to learn to play the hardest gods in the game, because they don't even pay off. Like, I'm a good Eerlang Shen. Like, and I'm incapable of doing anything. Because Baron Samedi is just, he wrangles people. He just kites, controls.
Your middle phoenix is under attack.
It's frustrating, man. It's really frustrating. I think if you, at your like level, being new to the game, if you get really good at Baron Samedi, like, that'll be so much more useful to your team than getting good at a god like Eerlang Shen. Because Eerlang Shen's kind of trash, as you can see. Like, he really isn't very good. I can avoid so much of his kit. I can outplay him 6 times in a row. And I just juked everything he has in his kit. Now that's why this item is pretty toxic, because as you can see, it allows you to keep up. But look at this man, look at this. Like, you see what I'm talking about? It's not debatable. It's not like I kind of outplayed him there. I locked him down, I chased him down, caught him. It just doesn't matter.
You cannot run. Out of my path.
Ta-da!
Oh my god, dude. Come on, guy! Come on! Like, that's tough. That's what I'm talking about, man. Gem of Isolation and just juke and run. It's tough, but it's so good.